How you doing, guys? Big Mek Danskull here again today, back once again with another episode of Warhammer Thoughty K. So guys, back once again with an episode of Warhammer Thoughty K. Now it's been ages since I've done this, so I'm going to mess about for a bit at the start while I try and work out what's going on, because I've forgotten where I can, basically where I can see that I'm actually live and stuff like that. And, ooh, it's tricky. Let me click on that. Oh, I know, cancel that. I'd say tell me if I'm live, but the thing is, I can't remember how to use YouTube to actually get to the live chat and stuff like that. Oh, it says live now, so I must be live. Let's click on that. Let's hope it doesn't give me... I can't remember how to use YouTube to actually get to the live chat and stuff like that. Oh, it says live now, so I must be live. Let's click on that. Let's hope... There we go, we've muted that. So... I am live, but I need a pop-out box for my live chat, don't I? Pop-out chat, here we go. Right, so no one's in the chat at the minute, fantastic. That is a bonus, because this is just... I was going to do like a little paint-along video, but I've not really got the time. I want to get to watching my Sunday morning programmes. So, this is basically a quick... live, well, it might not be that quick, we'll see. If anyone joins us in the chat, then that'll be fantastic. But this is basically a hobby and life update for you. I've got my coffee, so I will be drinking from it, unfortunately. I know that annoys some people, but here we go. I'll try and be as quiet as possible with that though, because it's a really weird sound hearing someone swallow. Live, hobby and life update. Hobby, life. So, life update first. So, you may remember I've just picked up some leave-in conditioner and started messing with it, so I'm going to pop that somewhere there so I don't do that. I'll pick up some hobby stuff instead. Tell you what, I'll get to some painting. So, hobby and life update. What have I been doing, hobby-wise and life-wise? So... life-wise, you may remember that not too long ago, I recently went on to 4-day working week. So I was working basically Tuesday till Friday, and I was thinking that'd give me. It was to help out at work basically, so they didn't have to cover a 3-hour stint at the end of the day. Rather than them do that, I was working longer days, and they just had to cover a day because it's easier to get someone in for a day than for 3 extra hours. So I was working longer days, but only 4 of them. So I got Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. But recently they've changed the working hours in the factory, and so the lads on the line and on the loading bay, they're not doing 2 separate stints anymore. So now I'm back on the one stint that they're doing. So I'm back on 5 days a week now, basically. I thought having the extra day off, I'd get more hobby done, I'd get more stuff to do, what I wanted to do basically, but it kind of didn't really work like that. It's weird sometimes how you expect something to be one way and then it's another way altogether. Where is my bolt gun metal? There it is, bolt gun metal, trusty old metallic paint from the 90s. So, yeah, it kind of didn't work like that basically. I was... ooh, I've done that before. I was... Tell you what, I'll see if I can get... I was basically... what was I basically doing? Yeah, I was working the long shift, and then it was leading me to be too tired at the end of the day to do a lot of hobby. I had less time in the evening to do hobby and stuff like that. So it was kind of like share this. Copy. So yeah, it was kind of like I was I had extra time because I had the extra day off, but I can only really sit in hobby for maximum a couple of hours really. So even though I had an extra day off, I wasn't getting a lot more hobby done. Where if I have the extra hours in the evening, I find that it enables me to either go for a run or do an extra bit of hobby in the evening. And I'm just going to post this to the IDICBeer 40k Wargamers Unification group, which is a group that it's a great group to be part of because you can share anything you want as long as it's wargaming related. I can't work out how to post. It's been that long since I've used Facebook on my computer that I cannot work out how to post something in a group. Wow, this is exciting. Posts you've seen, you, friends, all, people, photos, videos, marketplace. How do you post something in a group on the desktop? I might end up doing it on my phone. Tell you what, I am going to do it on my phone. So, as exciting as that was for you, let's get back to business, eh? Let's get back to business. Where's my pop-out chat gone? Right, still no one in the chat. That's no problem. Because this is more, I'm just to save me recording it on my phone, editing it, uploading it, taking out all the ums, oohs, and stuff like that. So basically, as I was saying, although I had an extra day off, I found, because I was working 11.5-hour shifts on those 4 days I was working, I was out of the house effectively for 12-13 hours. So I was getting up off like 5 in the morning, and who's that? I was getting up at about 5 in the morning. Check. Bum, bum, bum. And I was very tired at the end of the day when I was getting home, because I wasn't getting home till 7 o'clock at night. If I had to do shopping on the way home, something like that, then 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, stuff like that. Share. This will be easier. Copy link. Go to Facebook. So much easier on your phone. I can't even remember how to post stuff on Facebook on the desktop, as I said. IDICBeer 40k Wargamers Unification group. As I was saying about that though, before I go back to my live stuff, the Wargamer Unification group, the IDICBeer 40k Wargamers Unification group on Facebook, is a fantastic group to be part of if you want somewhere to share something you're working on, hobby related. Let me just post this. Just gone live. Feel free to pop in. Post it. So, as I was saying, boing, the Wargaming Unification group is a great place to share your hobby stuff. Oh, let's take this off the bottom because that'll be well, it's not that annoying actually, really, is it? But let's take it off the bottom anyway. Get my nice clear shot of me. So, the Wargaming Unification group is a great place to share hobby stuff. There's no limits on you sharing, so if you're a very prolific sharer, feel free to share more and more and more. If you're new to the hobby or something like that, you can share something you're working on. If you want painting tips, if you want anything like that, you can ask people. If you're interested in something someone's posted, comment on it, they'll tell you about it and stuff like that. There's trolls and stuff won't be tolerated, and it's a safe place to share to your heart's content. So I can share this now without in certain other groups, they don't like you sharing external links because they kind of want the focus to be in the group, which is understandable. They want their group to be an active place for hobbyists to interact and stuff like that, which the Wargaming Unification group is. But the also Nick, who set up the group, IDICBeer 40k, he wants to be able to share his stuff and wants you to be able to share your stuff. Oh, what's that? looks like we've got a bid on something on eBay. This is Wargaming related, so we will talk about it in a second. Nice. So, yeah, he wants somewhere for everybody to feel like they can share the stuff there without a group admin coming to them saying you're sharing too frequently, or saying your stuff's not appropriate for the group, or whatever, you know, because there are various groups on Facebook that don't want you sharing stuff every day, and that don't want you sharing stuff and then just leaving. Now, there are people out there that do that, but there are many YouTube wargamers that when they share stuff in the group, if someone comments on the post in the group, they'll reply to them, so that's creating interactions within the group. But a lot of the time, it's understandable that someone comments on the video rather than on the Facebook post. So that's where it sort of takes traffic away from the group, or takes away from the group experience that some people want to try and create. But anyway, I won't tell you about that just yet. But if you pop into the chat, ask me about the eBay thing that's just happening. It's very exciting. I'm getting rid of some wargaming stuff. And that's to do with my New Year's hobby resolution as well, so we can talk about that in a bit. Now, I was going to start painting, but I've got this in my hand now. It's going a bit cold, so what I want to do instead is drink this and have a chat with you. So, like I said, the work-life balance was kind of becoming tipping in the favour of work, really. Only because I was feeling tired at the end of the night. Let's tilt that camera down a touch, not too much, but just a touch, and I'll come a bit closer. So I was feeling tired at the end of the night, so I was less likely to do hobby in the evenings when I was getting home, because I was just sitting in front of the TV, vegging out, catching up on TV, catching up on whatever, where there's just a little bit of screen I can see here, so I'm just going to make the screen bigger, when I'm only doing an 8.5 hour shift now, 4 days a week, and then a 6 hour shift on the Friday. So I'm far less tired in the evenings. So as much as I've got one less day to do hobby stuff, I have, I can basically guarantee myself an hour every night if I want to, of hobby painting time, stuff like that. So it works a lot better for me personally, working the 5 days and having the not being as tired in the evenings. So I went, for example, even not in hobby stuff, but outside of hobby stuff, I actually went for a run yesterday because I wasn't knackered, and I feel like I can go for a run a couple of nights this week. So I used to do 3 runs a week. When I was in my previous job, it was at a running store, so I could actually run at work because we had a run club. I'd go out 2 nights. 2 times a week with work potentially, and once a week by myself. So now, in my current job, I'm obviously not part of a run club anymore, and I have to do it all in my own time. And if I'm knackered at the end of the night on the 4 days, 11.5 hour shifts a week, I'm far less likely to go out for a run, aren't I? So now on the 8.5 hour shifts, I'm more likely to go out for a run. I'm more likely to be able to do hobby. I can probably do both in the same evening because I've got that much time in the evening now. And it's better for me, work-life balance, to do 8.5 hour shifts. I thought it would be good to do the 4 days a week and have the extra day off, but it turns out it's not as simple as that, apparently. So there we go. That's my work-life situation. And I'll talk about hobby now. I'll talk about this first. So I just received a bid for something on eBay. It was a Tyrannid Warrior Squad, so make sure you check out my eBay. Maybe I'll do a separate video about that, with links to my eBay account. I've got a few things up on eBay at the minute. There's a buy it now price and a starting bid price. You know how eBay works, well, probably most of you do anyway. Buy it now price and starting bid price. I've had my second bid on that Tyrannid Warrior Squad. Great for kill team Tyrannid Warriors. If you want to expand on a Tyrannid starter set, you get the Gene Stealer and the Tyrannid starter set. If you want to expand on that, then Tyrannid Warriors are a great way to do that. You could even probably do a Lictor conversion with the Tyrannid Warrior kit, which is a pretty cool idea. Hadn't thought about that until just now. Maybe I should keep the Tyrannid Warriors. But there's bids on it, damn! I'll have to outbid them and then just pay the eBay fees to keep my Tyranid warriors. No, I'm not doing a Genestealer or Tyranid kill team anytime soon. I will be doing a Genestealer cult one at some point. But when I first started buying Tyranid models, really, for some reason, I got into them. I got into the idea of having a big bug army, like the Tervagons and up, basically. Termagants? Hormagant? No. The Hormagants and the Termagants are the little ones, aren't they? And there's the Genestealers. The Tervagon, I think, is the one that births a Termagants. And so Tervagons and above, yeah. So basically the bigger Tyranid stuff. I've got into the idea of doing an army like that, because I kept seeing battle reports on Blue Table Painted at the time. He kept doing these, I think, Pacific Rim inspired battle reports with big monsters against big robots, basically. Which I watched Pacific Rim 2 last week. That was actually quite entertaining. It was alright. It was quite good. I also watched the Equalizer 2 yesterday, which was really... Oh, look at that. I look like I've got a muscle there, don't I? So I watched the Equalizer 2 Friday, which was just Friday back there, which was really good, I thought. I really liked the Equalizer, and Equalizer 2 was great as well. It's just like an action-packed... Denzel stars in an action-packed movie. Kind of like... If you like the Bourne movies, you might like something like that. The Bourne movies for the fight sequences more than for the mystery of who he is and stuff like that. So yeah, check out the Equalizer or the Equalizer 2, both of them. If you're looking for something to watch in the cinema. Now back to hobby stuff. What was I going to talk about? So yeah, before I went off on my Tyranid tangent, still no one in the chat. It is 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning in the UK, so it's not the end of the world, is it, guys? Everybody's probably asleep after staying up last night to watch some boxing or something. Ooh, boxing. I like fighting. I'm Tyson Fury and I'll knock you out. That's my Tyson Fury impression. So, back to the hobby stuff. Right. So, you may remember from earlier in the year, I said... I can't remember exactly what I said. Now, I think I said... I'm going to try not to buy any miniatures. I may have said I'm going to try not to buy any GW miniatures. And the Harry Potter Kickstarter came out. It turned out not to be a Kickstarter. It's just something that models have done. Now, we should get the models for that next month, which is very exciting for me. I'm just going to keep waving this at you like some kind of wand while I'm doing the Harry Potter talk. So we should get the models for the Harry Potter Kickstarter next month. I say not Kickstarter, just Night Models thing. I say we because I went all in on it, as you may have seen in a previous video. The models look amazing. I'm hoping they are as good as they look on pictures and on unboxings and stuff that people have done. They've sent them out early to some people, which is fair enough if that helps promote their launch of the game and stuff. So I went all in on that. That was 300 odd quid. Oh. And then, yeah, I might have said at the start of the year, I can't remember whether I said, I'll have to look back at one of my old videos, I can't remember whether I said I was going to try not to buy any miniatures, or if I was going to try not to buy, now miniatures being miniature figures for use in game, not being terrain, not being books related to miniature wargaming and stuff like that. So still buy the books, still buy the terrain. Yeah, so I can't remember whether I said I wasn't going to buy any miniatures or I wasn't going to buy GW miniatures. So, I also had the idea, now I don't know whether I said this on stream or not, of as long as I break even at the end of the year, then I feel I've achieved my goal. So basically, as long as I sell more than I buy, then I feel I've achieved my goal. And that is still the case. I do feel I've achieved my goal if I sell more than I buy. But the Harry Potter Kickstarter, or not Kickstarter, is going to make it really difficult for me to break even. So I'm hoping, I said, I'm not going to buy any GW miniatures for my New Year's hobby resolution. But I might not have. I might have just said I'm not going to buy any miniatures, which isn't what was intended, because I knew the Harry Potter Kickstarter was coming out, and I was probably going to go in heavy on that, if not all in. Went all in. So yes, the breaking even, eBay. So back to eBay. I just received a second bid on a Tyranid Warrior Squad. It's just on a weekly bidding cycle or whatever. I've also got some Gene Stealers on there at the minute. And what do you get when you cross a sheep with a kangaroo, a woolly jumper? Way. What else have I got on there? I could just have a look on my phone. That'd make it a lot simpler for me, wouldn't it? So I've got some Tyranid Warriors, I know that much. I've got some Gene Stealers. I've got something else. Let's go back. I just saw them. Tyranid Carnifex, that's the other thing. I've got 8 watches on that. I've got 2 watches on the... I've listed it as a pure strain Gene Stealer Brood Warhammer 40,000 kill team, because I'm trying to get on the kill team hype and encourage people to buy some Gene Stealers from me, basically. There's no bids on them recently. I've only got 2 watches, so I don't see them Gene Stealers going. But the new ones sprue, so they might go. You know, you see loads of Gene Stealers on eBay. A lot of them are already pre-built and stuff, though. So, yeah, I've been selling things on eBay. I sold a knight on eBay recently. I sold 2 knights before that from the Renegade box set. When the knights originally came out, I bought 3 and got them commission painted by Powerhouse Miniatures. Check him out on Instagram and on YouTube. And I also bought the Knight Renegade box when that came out, and I bought another knight for myself to build and paint. Never got round to building and painting any of those knights. Some of the terrain's built and it's in there, it's not painted. I say it's in there, you can barely see this cabinet. If you see a little bit of black here, there, a little bit of black there, that's the top of a Detolf cabinet from IKEA. And this is a Kallax shelving unit from IKEA. Got my stand-up workbench there as well. And my pyramid on there, which you can see is in a state of undress still. It needs cladding with foam board on the outside and big brick shapes carving into it, basically, as well. I might get back to that at some point, but we'll see. Behind me here, yes, there, that is a little, I think it's a letter storage thing. I saw a video from Chapter Master Valrak the other week when I was down in Derby, and I thought it was a really good video. It's basically a metal letter storing rack where you can pull the shelves out. You can pull them right out, no problem. They've got cork on one side, just bare metal on the other, so you can magnetise your miniatures, flip the shelves upside down and stick them to it and use it as a cheap transport solution. Now I'll just be using this as storage for miniatures. It fits nicely into these Kallax shelves, so I can put one of them in there and put loads of Orc Boys in if I wanted to. At the minute I've got up here this first glass. It's really hard to look at the screen and point. This first glass cabinet here is basically it's got a load of Orc Boys crammed in there, and other Orcs as well. So when I've got more boys built and painted, and especially when I've transferred them boys onto 32mm bases, because I just prefer that base size for Orcs, because they kind of hang over the 25s. I think it was Skarnir says he'll be keeping his boys on 25s at least. And game wise it's better if you've got them on 25s, because you can get more attacks in and stuff like that. I don't play competitively, so it's not a real issue for me. I just prefer the look of them on 32mm bases. I've got a really itchy nose. I'm wondering if my moustache hair's gone up there. There we go. Right. Yeah, so boys on 32mm basis. Once I've done that, they'll take up even more room, so I'll need more space for them. And I've got more boys unbuilt and unpainted. Currently, I'm using that thing behind my head. I'm using that to store miniatures that I'm working on. So I've got my Orc Kill Team on the top shelf. Further down, I've got Shadespire miniatures that you get in the Shadespire start box. I won't be buying any more Shadespire miniatures this year. Ooh, that's a really itchy nose. So yeah, I'm using it for storing miniatures that I'm working on, basically. Kill Team. Let's talk about Kill Team, because I got 3 games of Kill Team in, 3 full games of Kill Team, and I started another game with basically my mate that I go and see in Derby. his son's sort of showing an interest. He likes board games and stuff like that. He's sort of showing an interest in 40k to a certain extent. I bought him for Christmas it's in the other room. I can't remember what it's called. The First Strike box set. It's just a £25 box from Games Workshop where you get a little fold-up paper battle mat. You get some Plague Marines, 3 Plague Marines, 6 Poxwalkers, some Space Marine Intercessors and Reavers. And it's just a really simple rule set in there. I think you get a copy of the core rules in there as well. I can't remember. But it's a really simple rule set in there. So, excuse me. To just get used to playing the game. He's only 6. So he's... The kill team's beyond him at the minute, I'd say. He's not got the attention span to stick to it. We got to the end of turn 1 or possibly turn 2, and he wanted to play something else. He's like, "Oh, can we play something else now? Can we go and play on the Xbox? Can we go and play Cluedo?" Or he's got this kids version of Cluedo that I just don't get. I've never understood Cluedo. In America, it's called Clue, so you may be confused and think, "What's Cluedo?" But yeah, it's just Clue in America, and there's a kids version. And I've never been able to get... When I was a kid, I played the standard version. I think most people get it, but for some reason, I just don't get it. The weird thing is, though, in like detective films and stuff like that, and in TV shows and stuff, I can follow complex plots, and I can work out who the murderer is or whatever, or who committed a certain crime. I can work that out before the end of the show, like well before sometimes. I guess it's more of a hunch, and if I was actually in a situation where I had to say he did it, then I might not be able to do it. But anyway, so we played 3 games of Kill Team, me and my mate David, and we played those 3 games, and it was I think we played 2 50-point games and 1 100-point game. I think it was better with the 100 points. It's weird playing a 50-point game of Kill Team because it becomes like you're playing. Although my mate David preferred the game at 50 points, I preferred it at 100 points. Because for orcs, the lower the points in 40k, the harder it is to get enough variety in there to feel like I'm actually playing an orc army, if you know what I mean. Because what I tend to do in lower point games with orcs is get my specialist units in there, and then you lose out on a key thing for orcs of hordes. Orcs thrive on hordes, having untold masses of bodies to fling at the enemy. Now orc armies do best with that, and I think they always have done best with that. But in lower point games of 40k, I tend to go straight for my what are they called? Flash kits and stuff like that, and my specialist units. I tend to go straight for them, try and get as many of them in the list as possible, and then I don't actually do as well, and I get disappointed, and I think, oh, they're not that good a unit. But if I had the hordes of boys in there as well, then there'd be enough to distract my opponent one way or the other. They get either distracted by the guys with the big guns, or they get distracted by the hordes of boys running at them, and then it makes orcs just more playable that way. And it's the same in Kill Team, I found. It's kind of hard to get the variety you need in there with orcs to achieve what you need to achieve. For the first time, though, we played objectives rather than just kill points. I think in a game of 40k, we've never actually played anything but kill points, and it's tricky, especially in smaller games, and especially when you've not got that much terrain, because whenever we play, it tends to be at his house, because he's got a son and a wife, and it's a couple of hours away from... He lives down in Derby. It's an hour and a half away from my house if the traffic's good. So for him to come up here, it's more tricky for him to come up here and play here, even though the setup would probably be better in terms of the amount of terrain on the table. I can have a table permanently set up because I live in a 3-bedroom house by myself. It's interesting that he preferred the 50-point game of Kill Team, where I felt it limited the orcs a bit in the same way in a let's say a 50 power level game of 40k. the orcs are limited in what they can do, because as soon as you start losing boys, you start feeling it. They've only got 1 wound. Yeah, you can roll flesh wounds, but for some reason in the 3 games we've played, I hardly rolled any flesh wounds, so my guys were just dying outright. The game that I really, I quite enjoyed the games. I just feel there's a limit when you're playing the 50-point game of Kill Team. There's a limit to the effectiveness of orcs, because as soon as you start losing boys, it starts going crazy. Because they only get a 6-up save. Obviously, they're -1 to hit when they're in cover, and -1 to hit when they're over half range for the weapon that's shooting at them and stuff like that. But David was quite. I don't know if he did it intentionally. Like some of the games we played, he had longer range weapons to maximise his shooting potential. But also, he was playing Death Guard, and Death Guard. That sounds like an orc unit. He was playing Death Guard, and they were like Death Guard are tough. Most of my weapons were strength 4, so it was hard for my weapons to wound his guys if I even managed to hit him in the first place. And because I didn't have, I took commandos, mainly commandos. I think I took at least 5 commandos in each list. I took 3 burner boys, which I was really surprised about. The burner boys I found to be really ineffective. I think the problem is the missions we were playing. I was kind of having to bring the burner boys out and try and get them either into combat or whatever. I did take a zealot burner boy in a couple of games, and I think it didn't get into combat in either game, so it kind of becomes ineffective there. But maybe I just need to be a bit more clever about the way I'm approaching someone. IDICBeer 40K has joined us in the chat. How you doing, man? Yeah, so maybe in games of, I'm talking about Kill Team, Nick, so this might not interest you. But I felt that games of, maybe I need to be a little bit more clever in the way I'm approaching for a charge and stuff like that. In the 3rd game we played, which I thought, which was the 100-point game of Kill Team, which I thought was the best game, although I lost it. It was the game where I was on one end of the battlefield. Nick's booing me for talking about Kill Team, because I know he's not very interested in it. You could do an interesting flayed one list in Kill Team, though. I know you like your flayed ones. I think you can do flayed ones in Kill Team anyway. So you love them on a massed scale, though, don't you? So it's a bit different in Kill Team, obviously. They're probably quite expensive as well, flayed ones. But anyway, the scenario we played for the 3rd game, which I really enjoyed, or quite enjoyed anyway, I felt like we could have had more terrain, but it was the one where he's at one end of the battlefield lengthways, and I'm at the other end, and I have to get off his end of the battlefield, basically. And there's a few things in Kill Team that aren't necessarily clear in the rule book, and I think because I'm quite cautious with rules that are unclear, we didn't do it the way I've since come to think it should be done, by asking in Kill Team and skirmish game groups, and that was consolidation. So consolidation in Kill Team, at the end of the combat phase, you can consolidate up to 3 inches. Now, because each guy is a unit in and of themselves, if you've killed someone and then you consolidate up to 3 inches, but you have to do it towards the nearest enemy model, so that it doesn't say you can't go within an inch of that model. The way most people are interpreting it is you can go within an inch of that model. Let's get a couple of paints here to demonstrate. So here's my orc. Rakeland Fleshshade will represent the orc, and Screaming Skull will represent the Death Guard. So I killed one Death Guard guy. He died. There was another guy here, and then I could have moved to within an inch of him. But we decided you couldn't do that because I think we're not used to being able to consolidate into another unit. Because in previous editions of 40k and stuff you can't do that. Someone said you can do it in the current edition of 40k, but I'm not sure you can. I think maybe I'll have to reread the rules. On that note as well, in the current edition of 40k, I've not played a game since it came out. You know, I played 3 games when it came out, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to get loads of games of 40k in here. I've not actually played a game since the game came out. Now that was partly because my mate David, who is my only opponent for 40k really, that was partly because he lives down in Derby, and at the time he was living with his in-laws as well, because he was saving up for a house, but they've got a house now, so hopefully I'll get a couple of games of 40k in going forward as well, especially now we started, he got Death Guard models at Christmas and Nurgle models and Nurgle Demon models and stuff like that, so hopefully he'll want to get a game in with his Space Wolves or with those Nurgle models and get some use out of them. Fingers crossed. Yeah, he's been painting a fair bit over the summer. He's done a good job on some of the Death Guard miniatures and the Nurgle miniatures in general. Consolidation, yeah, but I've since read in skirmish groups that you can consolidate to within an inch. It doesn't say you can't in the rules, so people are taking that to mean you can, because in other areas of the rule book it says specifically you can't move to within an inch of an enemy unless you're charging them. Well, it doesn't actually say unless you're charging them. I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but basically what it says is in the charge phase you can move to within an inch of an enemy model, and in other, like in the movement phase, you can't do that unless you're charging. There's not a charge phase, sorry, I'm lying there. You charge in the movement phase. But anyway, yeah, so we interpret it as you couldn't consolidate into the enemy, but I've seen it in battle reports since. I watched a battle report by Errant Gaming. I think it's Errant Gaming. I'm sure it is. So Errant Gaming, I watched a battle report yesterday. Cool, mate. Have a good day at work. I watched a battle report yesterday on Errant Gaming, and they were talking about consolidating into a couple of Marines. I said I'd have done that. I'd have done it to tie them up, but they have the impression that if you consolidate into a unit, it's still the combat phase basically. So they get to make attacks against you. Now I'm not sure if they meant in the next, like in their turn, or if they meant in that turn. So what I'm going to have to do is reread the rules, because I'm sure the consolidation happens at the end of the combat phase. Because if it's at the end of the combat phase, then there's not a part of the phase after that. So to me, they can't attack you in that combat phase. They'd have to wait till combat phase in their turn, and then you can attack them back anyway. So yeah, it's weird. Kill team. It's a bit tricky getting used to it for me, because I'm used to I go you go mechanic, where the only time another player acts is to shoot Overwatch in the combat phase. So you shoot Overwatch in the combat phase, and you fighting your opponents when, you know, the combat phase, both opponents act basically, is what I'm getting at. Where in Kill Team, the guy who gets initiative, or the player who gets initiative, moves their models, all of them, and then it moves on to the way it works is like, it's kind of like I go you go, but not all through the game is it I go you go. So it's a little bit tricky to get your head around. I'd have to play another game to remember exactly what it was, but it's just a bit. It's a tweak from 40k, so it's a bit tricky to get used to. But I've been getting games in, so that's a good thing. I've been getting games in, and I've been enjoying them. I'm hoping to get another game or two in before my mate's a teacher, so before he goes back to work, I'm hoping to get another game in then, and even when he's got a week off, I can pop down to see him during half term and stuff like that. Not necessarily even in half term, like, because I get the weekends off, so I can pop down at the weekend and stuff. Whether we get a game in or not, it doesn't really matter. But I can always take down the miniatures in the hope that we get a game in with Kill Team, because it's not like I'm chucking loads of stuff in my car. But, you know, I've got a KR carry case here, so I can chuck a full orc army in my boot, can't I? It's not like the end of the world, or I could take down some knights or whatever I fancy, really. You know what, guys? There's no one watching at the minute. I don't think there is anyway, so what I'm going to do is leave it there. Because as good as this has been to get some chatting done, and just to give you an update video, it's I was intending to do a bit of painting, but I've just been holding this cup with this coffee getting colder and colder. So what I am going to do is leave it there. I'm going to end the stream if I can remember how to do it, and I will leave it there. How do we end the stream now? Why can't I remember how to end the stream? I reckon if I press that, it'll end the stream, but I'm not entirely sure. What I'm going to do is put the end screen on and then try and end the stream. So guys, thanks very much for watching, and I will see you on the battlefield.